So I've got a bunch of recycled Western red cedar that was taken from an old stable demolished last year. So I'm thinking I'll use these for the infill panels on the barn doors. Just going to obviously have to be dressed, and yeah, a lot of the tongue and groove sections will need to be ripped off, ripped down to size, and the thickness taken down to whatever it needs to be to make it all work. So yeah, perfect. Let's get to it. Drop saw and you're cutting multiple lengths of the same length, instead of getting your tape out every time, just cut one to size and then just sit the piece you've cut on top of the other one, flush it at this end, get your pencil, mark it on that end, and then make your cut the second time. So I'm just ripping these down, leaving the tongue on this side, sorry, the groove on this side, and I'm ripping off the tongue so that the overall width of the board is 90mm. I've already done 4 behind me. I'll just finish off these last 2 now. So there's our 6 boards at 90mm wide by 95 or 950 long. So 90mm wide by 950 long, 6 of them. So that'll be those done. Got one at 175, one at 162. All these 3 need to be 25mm thick and 90mm wide, which I've already done. Then I've got a couple of other ones down there. It's always a good idea when cutting old boards to make sure you get an accurate cut. Just take a little bit off the end on the saw so you know that the measurement you're going to measure back from is perfectly square, and then you just cut the other end. You just have to line it up in the saw. Then you know it's perfectly square, and you can just measure back, in this case 162 or 1620, and then make your second cut, and that's your length of your board. And there's the last 2 cut, and I've got all of the boards now. I just have to rip them, well, just reduce the thickness of them down to 24-25mm. At the moment they are a bit thicker than that. As you can see, they're about 27, so I need to take a few mil off the thickness of all those boards. The way I'm doing this is with the planer. So we have to check it on both ends in the middle to make sure we've got what we want, and that is pretty close. All good. So current state of play out here. There's all my boards, the 6 for along here, and there's the other 2 that I cut. But I've just found that the deeper I go into this, the more this section was all just rotten. So I thought I'll just take that out, and I'm probably going to take out those 2, put the handle on a new stronger piece. Means I've got to take out those old square-headed screws, which look like this. And yeah, that's got to be replaced too. So it's fun times. The deeper I go into this, the worse it gets. So that's just all breaking out. It's horrible. See, I'll take these out and I'll run, I've got to replace this, and I'll run boards down to there and then use those 6 to finish off the gap, and then infill the bottom there. So hopefully that should do it. So I've just taken out all those guys. There's a few missing. I know I need 4, 8, 12 in total, and I've only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I'm missing 3. And on the other ones, there's 1 or 2 missing out of those 2. So just with the age, it's always going to happen. They just drop out in time. But as you probably saw on the time lapse just then, that whole top rail, once I released the screw from that, the whole door dropped. So needed to happen anyway, because I need to replace that top rail. Yeah, that whole top rail just dropped down. You can now see the gap across the top there. So I need to replace that, lift it back up and screw it back in to this corner hinge plate once I've got my new boards on the front. So theoretically that should work. Practically we will see. So this section's going to come off for obvious reasons. So I've just picked a spot on the board that I'm going to cut it off at, because realistically, like, the whole thing needs to be changed, but you know, how far do you go without replacing or rebuilding the whole doors? Anyway, I digress. So what I've done here is I've just put a block that's parallel with the boards, and this just gives me a guide for when I use my multi-tool, just to run a perfectly straight line down there with the multi-tool, and then we've got a nice surface to butt up into when the new section goes on across there once I cut that out. So yeah. So current point of view from the inside, I've cut more of that top rail out there because the uprights or the cladding was just rotten. So I've just drawn a line in the sand and left it at that. So now it's almost like I've got half the door missing. So all I have to do next is replace that rail, that one's okay, and the bottom one has a little section down there. So yeah, that's the next job. And then outside, I have all my pieces cut. So those 6 there will go in that section. Those 5 there will join from that rail and go up. And then I've got an infill piece of one section down the bottom, which I'm cutting out of that timber there. And then those sections over there are going to infill that. So once I've got the rails finished off, I can screw all those to it, and fingers crossed, that should almost get me to the end of the rebuilding phase. So yeah, wish me luck. So to extend this top rail, I've cut out a half lap out of the end of that so I can screw it together. Screw the new section to the old section, and that way it saves me having to replace the whole thing, which to get that rail off that cladding is a nightmare, as I've already found out. So I've gotten this far because the boards here across that far were quite rotted out, so it made it easy enough, but the rest of it's okay. So I'm just gonna half lap a new section to run all the way across there. And I'll do the same thing here and on the bottom as well. So a little bit of news for everyone. I'm done for today. That's a wrap. Can't go any further, so we'll leave it there for now, which means there's going to be a part 3, so that's good news. So what's to come in part 3? So we're going to do some cutting wood, we're going to do marking, we're going to do tools, we're going to do tips and tricks, so it's going to have it all, so you better not miss that. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss that. If you have subscribed, you'll get the update and you won't miss that, so that's good. Yeah, so there'll be a lot of those things that we can apply when we start to put this door back together, which is good. Any questions, any comments, anything, tell me in the comments. Ask away and we'll get back to you. And yeah, thank you for watching. Thanks for the ongoing support. I hope you're enjoying this little restoration so far. Anyway, I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye for now.